Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited. I apologize for my appearance right now, but I'm living in the middle of the woods, so it is what it is. I haven't looked in the mirror in a week. I'm here in upstate New York, and I've been learning all week about the Creighton model fertility care system. So you guys are gonna hear that a lot during this video because I am becoming trained as a practitioner to be able to teach this to other people, and I am just so excited. I can't even express how beautiful I think this is and how beneficial it is and how sad it makes me that women aren't aware of it, that we're not taught it growing up, that we just have no idea about our bodies. The more that I learn, the more I'm just amazed that this isn't known by everyone and taught in schools. This is not the type of sex education that you get in school. This is not even what people learn in medical school. There's a girl here with me who's a doctor, and this is not what she learned in school, and it's just really sad that this science and research isn't taught to everybody. So I am here today to debunk some myths about natural family planning in general. That's a very umbrella type of term, and so Creighton Model Fertility Care System is one of the methods of natural family planning. So this is our classroom that we've been in all week, our projector. We're in this retreat center in the middle of nowhere, kind of near Albany, and we've just been here learning, studying all day, in class all day, studying all night, and just learning and absorbing so much information. So I asked on Instagram what assumptions you guys had about natural family planning, so we're gonna be responding. Me and some of the girls that are here training with me, we're gonna be responding to those assumptions, letting you know if they are true or false, and then letting you know what the truth is. What are the facts? What is the research? And so I hope that this is helpful, and I hope that you learned something from this today.
Well, do only Catholic women deserve to know about their bodies? Of course not. So natural family planning is for all women, and it's a tool that we can use to learn about our bodies. It's a complete science, and we should all be empowered to take charge of our own fertility.
Fertility care and fertility awareness works for any type of cycle, regular, irregular. Even the regular women, regular cycles are gonna be irregular at some point. So this has nothing to do with the effectiveness of the method, because we're not counting days. We are making observations every day, and those observations, those markers like the cervical mucus, are gonna tell us whether we're fertile or not every single day. So you can have the most irregular cycle and this will still work for you.
In the beginning, there is a learning curve, but once you learn it, it will become like second nature, and those tools you will use for life.
So that's why you'll be working with a practitioner. You're gonna meet with your practitioner very often in the beginning so that you get the hang of it and you're learning properly, and it won't be overwhelming because your practitioner is gonna be helping you along the way. So in the beginning, you're gonna be meeting every 2 weeks to make sure that you understand it fully, that you're learning everything that you need to learn, and that you have everything under control. I promise you'll be able to figure it out. You don't need any kind of science background. You don't need any kind of prior knowledge. You just need to go in with an open mind and an open heart and a willingness to learn about what's going on with your body, and then your practitioner is going to help you every step of the way.
So actually, women are fertile a very limited time in their cycle. The ovum or the egg only lives for 12 to 24 hours, and the seminal fluid, which contains the sperm, it will only maintain the sperm living for 5 to 6 days. So in that combination is that very limited period of time that you would actually get pregnant in the cycle. So really, women are most days infertile. When you don't really know about the different descriptions of the mucus, it may seem like you're having cervical mucus for the entire cycle, but you'd be surprised. When I first started learning about this, I thought I was fertile the whole time, and when I actually learned the different types of mucus, I learned that my fertile mucus was limited for a very, very, very short period of time. 2-3 days at most. So it is very important to work with a practitioner, because then you're going to learn what the different types of mucus are, and then you're going to be able to actually identify when you're actually fertile.
Yes, so days where you experience dryness and no cervical mucus are infertile days, but there's a lot more to it than that. You can't just say, oh, well, I didn't see any cervical mucus, so I must be infertile and I won't get pregnant on that day. There's a lot more to it to understand and to know about your body and what's going on with that dryness and with that cervical mucus and at what time in your cycle you're at. So just knowing that you're dry isn't enough to determine whether or not that's a day of fertility or infertility and what you need to do with that day based on if you want to avoid or achieve pregnancy. But it is true that you need cervical mucus in order to achieve a pregnancy. So in order for someone to achieve pregnancy, to become pregnant, there has to be cervical mucus. I love this assumption. It is absolutely true. Natural family planning is a mindful practice, and it teaches you to understand and appreciate your body and your fertility, and it's so beautiful, and it makes me really excited for women to become empowered about their health and their fertility and know what's actually going on with their body. Rather than just cover up any negative symptoms that they might be experiencing they can actually get to the root of the problem and treat what's going on so that they can become more healthy overall.
We have to remember that first and foremost, you have to learn how to effectively chart using the Creighton recording system. That, of course, is something you have to learn, and that takes a varied amount of time for each woman. But once you gain the knowledge and skills to do it, and you become more confident in your charting abilities, charting is fairly quick. You just, at the end of the night before you go to bed, you pull out your chart and you put your recording for that day, and that's it. And another way to make it a little bit easier once you've got more confident is if you and your spouse or significant other are learning the system with you. And another good thing to do is to have, say, your significant other do the charting. You tell them what the fertility signs were that day, and then they can do the charting. So that's a really good way to get your significant other or husband involved and make it a little bit easier on you.
In the beginning, while you're learning, it might take you a little time, but once you get the hang of it, it only takes a couple seconds to observe your cervical mucus, and at night, just to write what you observe. It won't take you more than 10 seconds once you learn how to do it. Well, yes, when you don't know what you're looking at, anything and everything is going to be hard to figure out. The beauty of this particular method of family planning is that they have been doing observations for 40 years, and they have been able to standardize all of the types of mucus and how it looks and how much it stretches. So it's not a guessing game anymore. There are specific types and specific names that you're going to be able to identify. So you're going to be able to figure out very easily what type of mucus you have, and then determine if you're fertile or infertile.
So there's a couple things that we have to consider with this assumption. One is not all natural family planning methods are created equal. So what we're talking about, obviously, is the Creighton model fertility care system. That is not the same as the calendar rhythm method. So if we're lumping those two together, yeah, natural family planning is not effective, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a specific type of fertility care that is highly researched, backed in science, and actually works. When you look at rates of effectiveness, the hormonal birth control pill and the Creighton model, the rates of effectiveness are relatively similar, if not Creighton being more effective. The Creighton model system has an effectiveness rate of 99.6% as the method effectiveness. So if it's being used perfectly, it's 99.6% effective. That is awesome. And the user effectiveness, so like in real life, we're not perfect, we don't always do everything perfectly, the user effectiveness is still 96.4%. So still really, really high without any of the negative side effects. And there's so many benefits to it more than that, but it is very, very effective in and of itself. Another thing we want to think about that I really just realized today, and it blew my mind, is that the effectiveness rate of condoms is in general. So when we know that a woman is only fertile for a few days during her cycle, that means that the effectiveness rates of condoms is in general. So most of those days that people are saying that condoms are effective is not a day that a woman would be able to get pregnant anyway. So it's not actually doing anything. The woman couldn't get pregnant anyway. So if we only tested condoms on the days that a woman was fertile, the effectiveness rate would go way laid down. And thinking about that, learning about that today, just opened my eyes so much to what effectiveness rates really mean and what you need to look at when you're considering how effective something is. In the 30s, so way before the pill, the Anglican Church split off from the rest of Christianity for the first time, saying that contraception might be okay in some cases. That was the first time there was any change in that belief system. In the 60s was when the birth control pill first became available. And so in response to this, the church put out a document called Humanae Vitae. This was the church's stance that had not changed. They were just making clear what their stance on the birth control pill was and how we should respond to that in a way that upholds our dignity as women, the couple's dignity, and the dignity of all human life. At the end of Humanae Vitae, there's a challenge for medical professionals to figure out science and figure out our bodies and figure out what is going to work so that when it's important for families to space their pregnancies and not to have 15 kids, that's not realistic for everyone. For some people, yes, and it's beautiful, but not for most people. And so when people have the need to space pregnancies and the need to avoid pregnancy, there has to be an answer that still upholds our dignity as women, as a family. And so in response to Humanae Vitae, Dr. Hilders created the Creighton model. It's beautiful because it allows us to understand our bodies, understand our fertility, to figure out any health issues that are going on, to avoid pregnancy or achieve pregnancy. There's so many different uses for the method, and it's fully in line with church teaching. It upholds everyone's dignity. It's in response to Humanae Vitae, which was in response to the pill. So there has been a lot of medical advances in science after the pill came out. That is true. But research in natural family planning has been happening since the 20s. So it's just evolved over time. Something that if your grandparents are telling you NFP doesn't work, don't think about that, don't use it, it's not going to work. That's because they're thinking about what came out back in the 20s and not understanding how much science and research has advanced since then, looking at how effective it is now.
You can use the model to learn about your fertility. So once you go through puberty, you can use the Creighton model for fertility care from when you have your first cycle to when you have your very last cycle, and then you go through menopause. If you start it as a younger woman before you even think about becoming engaged, that's a great tool because by the time you are ready or become engaged and are thinking about marriage, you already have the foundation of what your cycle looks like. And then you can add the kind of some building blocks to that. Once you're engaged and become married, then you're going to look at your fertility and you're not only going to be monitoring it for the health of your reproductive organs, but then how can you use those days of fertility to achieve pregnancy or avoid pregnancy based on your intention between your spouse and you at that time. The Creighton fertility care system is for all women no matter what stage of life they're in, whether they're single, whether they're engaged, whether they're widowed, basically from the start of their fertility to the end, which would be at menopause.
This question really assumes that NFP doesn't work, because if it did work, we wouldn't have to worry about any increased risks. So someone using natural family planning, someone using the Creighton model system wouldn't have any more increased risks than they would otherwise. A woman who's older but has not yet hit menopause is going to know exactly when she's fertile because she's charting her cycle. She's looking at her signs of fertility every single day and seeing, am I fertile today or am I infertile today? And then making a decision about intercourse based on that. So she's not going to have any more of a risk than anyone else would. If Creighton has a 96.4 user effectiveness rating, and if she has even more of a reason to practice it, studies have shown that those who have a deeper conviction of really being convicted of this is what I want and it's for a good reason, then their rate of effectiveness actually increases significantly. If the rate of perfect use is 99.6 and she is really, really convicted, I cannot get pregnant right now because it would be a risk of my health, she's going to be paying much more closer attention to her signs of fertility and using it a lot more effectively, and it's going to work for her. The chances of her getting pregnant then aren't going to be any more than they would be using any other method, and this is much more natural for her body and gives her actual information about what's going on with her fertility.
So there are many medical doctors who are trained in natural fertility care around the country and even around the world. You can go to fertilitycare.org and put in your location, and then you can find a natural trained physician near you. There are also physicians located in Australia, Ireland, Poland, Africa, Korea, all around the world. If there is not one in your area, many of the practitioners use telehealth, and you can contact them remotely.
There's actually a lot of research that shows that practicing natural family planning is extremely beneficial for couples' marriages. The way that the system works, it allows you to grow in much more than what you might think of as your sexuality as a married couple. You're growing in the spiritual aspects of your relationship, the physical aspects of your relationship, of course, emotional, intellectual, your communication, all kinds of aspects of your relationship you're growing in by using a fertility care system. So it's a lot more than what you might think of right off the bat when you think of natural family planning, but you're growing in your relationship in so many different ways. Because you're growing in all those areas, you're communicating a lot more, and this is not something where the woman's the gatekeeper and it's like, oh, can we have sex today? And then you get in an argument about it because you either can or you can't. Every day you guys are making decisions together about your fertility. Is today a fertile day or an infertile day? And then based on that information, you can make a decision on, is this a day that we want to come together or not, depending on if we're trying to avoid or achieve a pregnancy. It's really beautiful, and it helps couples to increase their communication and find new ways to love each other rather than just what might become a habit or really comfortable after a while. It helps you go back to those early stages where you're getting to know each other and thinking of unique ways to show each other love. So it's really beautiful for couples and is actually really helpful for the couple in their overall health of their relationship. So those are all of the assumptions that we're going to be responding to today. I really hope this was helpful. I hope that you learned something. I hope that some things that you might have thought about natural family planning are now more deeply understood. If you have more questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll try to get to them. If you want to learn more, you can go to fertilitycare.org and learn more about the Creighton method. My biggest hope with all of this is just that women will become more informed and educated about their health and their fertility so that they can make actual informed decisions. I feel like a lot of times people think that they're making informed decisions and thinking they're making the best decision, and they might be making the best decision with the information that they have, but there's a lot of missing pieces and missing information, and so I'm hoping to just spread awareness through this. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments something that you learned or something that you're still wanting to know about, and I will definitely be sharing a lot more about fertility care in the future, because as soon as I leave here, I'm going to be a Creighton Model Fertility Care Practitioner intern, and I'm really excited to embark on this journey and be able to work with women and couples and help them understand their fertility as a couple and to work with them in whatever needs that they have, avoiding or achieving a pregnancy, learning about their bodies, whatever it is. This is so good and every woman should know about it. So I hope that you learn a little bit more today than you knew before, and I hope you have a great day. Bye!